Namaste, good evening to all of you. Typography Society of India extends a warm welcome to all of you to the 16th edition of Online Design Lecture Series. Today, we have a upcoming typographer from the younger generation. Typography Society of India is committed to give encouragement to all generations of graphic designers and typographers and calligraphers. And we are extremely proud to present to you one upcoming designer from the very young generation, Shaily Patel. She is a fresh graduate from the Department of Applied Arts, Faculty of Fine Arts, M.S.University, Vadodara. With a keen interest in type design and typography, she has been developing typefaces since 3 years now in Indian scripts as well as in English. While attending Juan Villanueva's display type class at Cooper Union, Shaily designed a high contrast Latin font named Maya with peculiar triangular serifs and lots of interesting improvisations in form. Shaily launched her first type family, Balcony, a type family inspired by safety grills, on MyFonts in February 2021. Her work has been recognized alongside 7 other women as Women of Typographic Excellence in the Malee Scholarship 2020 by Sharp Type, New York. She is also winner of the prestigious Certificate of Typographic Excellence in 24th Annual TDC Typeface Design Competition by the Type Directors Club in the students category. The winning project, Balcony, has been featured in the Page magazine, a German publication focusing on the creative industry. Typography Society of India wishes all of you a very happy Diwali, and we are again wishing you all the best, and we are proud to introduce you to a very young type designer, Shaily Patel. Over to you, Shaily. Jai Hind.
Hi, thanks for joining in. I want to firstly thank Professor Sri Kumar and Professor Tarundeep for inviting me to speak at the Typography Society of India. I think it's a great initiative. I have thoroughly enjoyed and learned a lot from the previous session. So today I'm going to be talking about my typeface balcony and a couple of other projects that I've done in the Latin script. So Balcony was the first typeface that I've ever designed. It is a very experimental, decorative typeface that is inspired by the metal grills that we see around us. And um, so basically the idea started while doing a college project. Uh, I have been documenting grills that would resemble any letter forms or motifs or just beautiful designs. Um, yeah, so I've been documenting these since a long time now, and whenever I see these, I kind of resemble letter forms. And once there was a college assignment where I was looking for some typeface that was geometric, and more specifically, I was looking for something that had squarish letter forms. But since I couldn't find anything of such sorts or the very specific thing that I was looking for, I decided to make a typeface of my own using these drill patterns that I've been documenting. So as you can see over here, how I've taken few motifs and converted them into letter forms. For example, these heart-shaped grills are very commonly seen around us. So I just made a heart motif, or these arrows resemble. Yeah. So for that particular assignment, I just had made the base characters. That's a few, like all the letters, numerals, and a few punctuations. And later on, I happened to show this project, as in the whole concept, to jockey Hitesh Malavya, and he encouraged me to expand the typeface, like expand it into a fully functional typeface. And he also helped me out while learning the font editing software, and he'd also give me feedback on these letter forms. Also, I would conduct like tiny surveys where I'll ask my parents or people around me to help me out if they can read these letter forms or not. I made a couple of options all the time for people to select from. So this is the final character set that I'm showing. And so while designing the typeface, I remember I started it in Illustrator, and whenever I could see like a second design language that was being carried out in a few letter forms, and I really liked that language. So I created a stylistic set. The first one over here, as you can see, is the first stylistic set, and the second stylistic set is dingbats, which has the motifs of grills that we usually see around us. So, yeah, and while expanding the typeface, uh, I had to put diacritic marks, and usually diacritic marks are above or below the letter forms, but I still wanted to confine them into the squarish frame that I was using for all the letter forms or characters. So what I did was I just squeezed them like geometrically. The circles remained circular, and so I put the diacritics above and below as they were needed. And balcony has four weights: light, regular, medium, and bold. And yeah, this as you can see over here, you can see how the letter forms look in the four weights, and also the stylistic set. So a little more about the process is that, as I said, I started the typeface on Illustrator first, and then I I imported it to glyphs. So what I did was I did not make shapes. I just used these parts to draw my letter forms because they were like geometric, so I did not have to do much. But so I used these parts, and what I did was in the instances, I put a parameter for every weight or instance where I uh, defined the uh, line widths, and every every instance would take the line width, and that's how the typeface was created. And this worked for me because none of my letter forms have ink traps, or where my paths like narrow down or get thinner. So it really worked out for me in that case. And this is a small, this is a screenshot from the interface of how the typeface looked on Glyphs software. And as you can see, because of the parts, there are no shapes. So uh, this is how the interface would look. So every time I had to test the typeface, I had to generate a file and put it in InDesign and check it out. So this is the full character set. It has about 650 characters, and there's only uppercase, no lowercase, because lowercase are hard to confine in a square shape. Um, yeah, so this is, as you can see, this is how the patterns are made using the motifs or the dingbats. Also, you can make patterns while using letter forms or punctuations or symbols. For example, I've used O, K, and percentage sign over here. So I've been testing this typeface, and I found out that like it get like since it's very decorative, you cannot read like a full sentence. You can use this typeface for a word or for a phrase, and if the phrase is longer, then you can maybe use it for like a popular phrase. So I've tried to explain how you can use this typeface by making few specimens. For example, you can use it as a poster, or you can take these negative parts of the letter forms as different shapes and create a pattern out of it. Or you can click mark an image behind them. I really want to make, get a fabricator to make some proper grill out of these typeface on there. Um, yeah, so maybe you can take like some objects or images and play around with them, and maybe you can use it on for editorial purposes, like for a drop cap, or maybe you can use numbers in such a way. So, I was designing my first business card, and since balcony is the first typeface I designed, so I thought I'll use it in such a way. So this is my current business card. I haven't redesigned it yet, and this is also an old version that I used for making a sticker with my friends. That we made a few stickers for a college event. So I used balcony for that. Also, I cut out some coasters and see how I am also like very interested in seeing how this typeface can be used and given a physical form to itself, and I really want to make sure that the typeface isn't only confined to screen or print and can have a physicality for itself. So I was discussing this with my brother, who also happens to be a industrial designer. So he helped me out with few vendors of furniture ideas, like this a coffee table or a couch or just a cover or some jewelry. So earlier this year in February, I launched the typeface on MyFonts, and luckily I've been able to sell a lot of licenses, I'd say. Also, last year in 2020, I applied for the Malee Scholarship. Unfortunately, I did not get the scholarship, but they showcased my work among with other seven designers, women type designers from all over the world, and Balcony is showcased in the Women of Type section. You can check out other works as well on their website. Also, Balcony won me the TDC Certificate of Excellence this year, the 24th TDC awards. And so the winners of the 24th TDC awards were showcased in the Page magazine. They have a section separately for type, like I think typography as a whole. And Balcony was on in like mentioned in the article. It Page is a German magazine, and they focus on a lot of aspects of the creativity, like the creative field. The another typeface that I'm going to talk about is Maya. I designed Maya as a part of my display type class, which is organized by the Cooper Union, Cooper Type, and it was taught by Juan Villanueva. He is a Peruvian-born designer. He's currently based in New York, and he has done a lot for the BPOC community. Fund he gets um uh, uh he funds for like I won't say fund, but he um has this thing where people can fund for the BPOC community. BPOC is basically brown, indigenous, and people of color. So um, yeah, I was part of the class. It is a 2 months class where Juan teaches how to. Like, he starts from the very basic anatomy of letter forms, and then he teaches principles of type design. And by the end, you have to make a typeface on your own. So while making this typeface, the first thing that we were supposed to do is we were supposed to list out a few adjectives that we want our typeface to look like. I mean, how we want to define our typeface. And so by that time, I came across feminist poems, and I came across the poem "Still I Rise" by Maya Angelou, and that really inspired me. So that kind of became the defining moment for me. And so I started sketching letter forms with the different features, but at the same point of time, those letter forms will define or reflect these um, like, strong feminine forms. So over the weeks like when I started, I put a lot of different features into the typeface, but over the weeks, one would give feedback every week or twice a week, and then we would have guest critics who also gave us feedbacks, and that really helped me out, and it smoothened my texture. We filtered out the different features that we I was including. So yeah, so this is the base character set, and this was the first time I was working with serifs, and it is a tough job to work with serifs because a lot of spacing issues and all happen when you're working with serifs, and yeah, but it was a fun and learning experience for me. So this is the full character set, and for now it's just one weight, but I do intend to expand the typeface into a family with multiple weights, probably play with the optical corrections. So yeah. Another typeface that I recently completed working on is Oprah. We're still juggling with the name, but I really like the name Oprah for this typeface because it is very dramatic. I worked on this typeface for the Indian Type Foundry, and it will be soon launched from their platforms. Hopefully, they'll soon launch it. And yeah, so Oprah is uh, again a dramatic typeface, I'd say, because what I've done in this typeface is that all the circular letter forms like O, C, G, the lowercase b, p, d, all these letter forms are like circular, like full circles, whereas the other letter forms, I've squeezed them the letter forms are basically more condensed than normal, and so that you can see the difference. And yeah, I've included weights. There are 4 weights, and this is how it looks. And Satya really gave me the freedom to introduce whatever features I wanted to. So I introduced a few alternates. Also, I made a lot of ligatures. These are the uppercase ligatures. And I think the more features you add in a typeface, the more interesting it becomes. So, yeah, I wanted to play around. and see how many ligatures I could make. I think I made more ligatures than these, but then I had to cut with them. Then these are the lowercase ligatures. And yeah, then while expanding, what I did was I made two sets of accents. On the right and on the left, the accents above A, they are the normal width accents, whereas on the O, so every letter form which is wider, I made another set of accents for them which are also wide in the bit. And yeah, so I did the same thing for lowercase as well. And apart from the normal numerals, what I did was I introduced old style numerals. I'm a huge fan of old style numerals. Also, I introduced superior and inferior numerals. Then I introduced a long set of fractions. And this is the full character set so far. It's been a really fun journey to make these terraforms. Yeah. And as per the use, I think the typeface can be used for something that is luxury, like cosmetic brand or fashion brand or hospitality, something like that. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for bearing me. And yeah, you can get in touch with me on Instagram. This is my Instagram handle, and yeah, that's the end of the session.
Now, Shaily, thank you very much for the interesting talk you gave. We were all looking forward to hearing about balcony because it is a very, very interesting font. So, a lot of people, including students and professionals, we found the anatomy of balcony very, very fresh, very innovative. Nobody has thought about coming up with such a font. And what you said is very interesting that the implications of this, the possibilities of this being used as three-dimensional artifacts. It is a very interesting thing. It opens up a lot of possibilities for product designers and three-dimensional explorations. A lot of that can be done in this font. So very
That's true.
interesting. Yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about Maya? Because personally, I found it very interesting, and especially the lowercase y and f. I found it very cute. It is very, very high contrast, but the forms, there are a lot of innovations in many characters, and it was very interesting. So, can you share some more experience, your thoughts about how this Maya started and how you developed it further, and how did you manage to get this kind of innovative forms in this kind of short, lowercase y, f, and j, to name a few. All the characters are very interesting, but three of them are very, very cute. So, can you
Thank you, sir.
talk a little more about Maya?
Sure. So actually, before the um, before we started working on our typefaces, we had a lot of exercises how to develop ideas. So
Uh,
there is this platform called Type Cooker.
hmm.
So we used to do a lot of exercises from Type Cooker, and yeah, so that helped me a lot. And so before we also started developing the typefaces, what we had to do is we had to, you know, list out a few words, describing words, how we want our typeface to look like. And later on, we had to start sketching and develop the idea. So if I say feminine, so feminine can be a lot of things. If I say that playful, the playful can be a lot of things. So that's how I started, sketching things, and I saw, like I used a lot of different genres of type design. So, and I saw what all I could do, and while sketching one of the ideas, I came up with these triangular terminals, and I really liked that particular feature, and I tried to incorporate that feature in the more characters I could.
No, but what led you to making this kind of very peculiar curve structure in F and Y and J?
So I don't think I don't think it's something new. I have seen some similar features in some existing typefaces.
Hmm.
So I just tried to make them sharp or pointy, I'd say, in
Okay.
that angle. Yeah.
But what led you to make a structure like a triangle? So you cannot call it serif also, you can't call it terminal. You need to give a good new name to it. But it's very
That's
interesting.
true.
How did you get this triangle as the stroke ending?
Well, I just say that I
Hmm.
sketched and I just liked that form and I took it.
And what are your future plans as a type designer?
Well, I do not have any like rigid future plans as such,
Hmm.
but I do want to work more in index scripts. That's what I know. I see that the index type design scene is
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
very young in
Very.
itself, compared to Latin. So yeah, I think there is a lot of room to play around with. And yeah, I just want to see however I can, play with these scripts, and uh, I want to, explore what all new things we can do with them.
What kind
And
of work are you doing with your mother tongue Gujarati script? Are you plan doing anything now?
well, currently, I have just started working on a project that I started earlier. That is Climax Gujarati. So I am in the process of completing it right now. It needs a lot of work.
Mhm.
So yeah, this year I do plan to complete it, hopefully.
Is it a body
in a,
copy
in
font or a headline font?
It is. I wouldn't say it's a body copy. It is a very display typeface.
Okay.
As in, it is a Gujarati companion of the typeface, which is Climax Standard. It
Okay.
has a plus and a minus with which
Mhm.
is black and a hairline.
Okay.
So I started with the black, and later I'd form the hairline as well.
Because there was a time, in M.S.University Faculty of Fine Arts, when we were students, there was a Gujarati type also we could compose and take a print.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that
there
sounds
was a
very
nice
interesting.
letterpress facility also. That was the first time I saw Gilson and Universe and all that in action there. They had Century School book also, metal
That's
type.
amazing.
Yeah. So I think it was somewhere near the pottery section. Yeah, somewhere near.
Yeah, yeah. Just beside a
Yeah.
sculpture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still remember first time I was seeing all the weights of universe and we could play around with it and take a print.
That would have been such an
Yeah,
amazing
yeah,
time, I'm sure.
yeah. So there are a lot of Gujarati fonts at that time, in different weights.
That's amazing.
And do you practice calligraphy?
I do, but it is mostly, to learn the anatomy. I do not do the um kind of calligraphy that most calligraphers do. Like,
Mhm.
I am a huge fan of Dilbag Singh, and I would just that's a dream to achieve that level of skills
Oh,
someday.
yesterday I reminded him that you are talking today.
Oh.
So he wrote to me saying you have seen your work and he is very impressed with your work.
That's good to hear.
And since you are a fresh graduate from MSU, and there are a lot of students who are much younger to you who really want to take up type design as a profession. Do you have any advice for your junior batch students on people who are interested in taking up typeface design as a profession? How do you go about it?
Well, I think I've just started, so I cannot say anything, as in anything much serious. But I just say that you got to be, focused, and uh, like every time you see the typeface, there would be something or the other that would, nag you, and you want to change
Mhm.
it. So you have to be ready to, ready to change it every time you see the typeface, and it's a serious job. It takes a lot of patience, I'd say.
Because a lot of publishers keep saying that, they are badly in need of a real good body text in Gujarati, which is in open type format, which
Yeah.
supports Unicode. So the lot
Yes,
of demand is there for Indian language scripts now. Okay, I
that's
will
true.
read out the next question. Typeface design always seems to me as a tedious yet satisfying task. Can you share your process of designing a typeface?
Well, I'd agree. It is a tedious job, and that's what I said. It takes a lot of patience, because the process, if it's mostly if it's an indic script, it would take you at least 4 to 6 months. That's what I've been said by the seniors. But for right now, I haven't completed a whole project in one go, so I cannot say how tedious it is. But yeah, it is. So I start from sketching as usual. I mostly like I'll see a lot of ideas, and maybe something would come up with a mixture of that, and I start sketching. I practice type cooker exercises in index scripts as well,
Mm.
so that helps a lot. And um, yeah, I think you just also you got to you know show it to some uh, type designer, and you can get their feedback on it. That is very important, actually. Yeah, I hope that
Next question
answers.
is, how do you decide the visual grammar of letter forms? How do you make sure all letter forms belong to the same visual language?
Well, like in the beginning, what I have observed is that in the beginning you start putting every idea that you have, and a lot of like all the characters, the letter forms can have a different, you know, personality to itself, and then you've got to try to filter it out, that what suits with what, and after putting it into a text trial. So you start seeing what looks bumpy, and how you can smoothen the texture out. So I think that helps.
Okay. The next question is, how many fonts have you designed so far? Which is your favorite and why? It's a very tricky
Well,
question.
yes, I think so far I've just completed two type projects, and more of the like many of them are incomplete. I think I've made six typefaces. The as in the concepts are in the middle somewhere, and I think Climax Gujarati is my favorite project, because I've never seen something so cool in Gujarati script before, and I'm just fascinated with the possibility of how these things can work. So yeah,
Next question is, what are your favorite fonts?
well,
I think it is
that
a
is
question
the
about
most
Latin fonts.
trickiest.
Huh?
That is the most trickiest
Yeah.
question. I
Very
mean, I
difficult.
cannot make up my mind to just one single typeface, but the typefaces that I would, regularly want to use are graphic, uh, and so that is a text typeface, and for something that would be for display, I think my favorite typeface would be Domain Sans by Type.
Hmm.
I really love the features of that typeface. Yeah.
What got you interested in typography?
Well, what got me interested in typography is that I had been somewhat practicing type before, it was introduced to me as a, formal subject or anything. As in school, our art teacher used to, give us these exercises where we had to play with the letter forms, mostly like Latin only. So we had to play with these letter forms. We had to add characters to it and all. And I used to love that thing. And both of my parents have such lovely handwriting, so they would help me out with it. And I've always had some interesting connection with type. So yeah, that I think that got me to like typography more. And after I think in my first year, um, Hitesh Malavya, Rocky, he came to the college to give a presentation on of his work. So, and I I never knew that something like that could exist. So that was so fascinating to me, and I got in touch with him, and he kind of took a workshop in the college of like calligraphy, basic anatomy, and I started liking it, and I had just decided that I would try this genre, and if it works for me, if I like, I'll just take go further. Otherwise, something new the next day. And I kind of went into it, and here am I right now.
Okay, so we will wind up here. I will take a minute to show the concluding slides,
Sure.
and then I will just come back to you. So I'd like to thank the organizing team, Professor Tarundeep Girdhar, Dr. Uday Kumar and Chirag Gandhar. Like special thanks to the HasGeek team for all the help in getting this event. And these are the places where the audience can get in touch with us through our email ID sampark.tsi at the rate gmail.com. And I would like to thank our speaker, Shaily, for sharing her interesting projects with us. With that, we will conclude the session. Thank you very much, Shaily. It was
Thank you
nice
so much for
listening to you.
having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.